1, 2, 3. Hey everybody, Doug Fields here with the Youth Ministry Podcast. We have our regulars, Josh, the co-host, Katie, the queen, and sitting in for Mr. Matt McGill is my beautiful daughter, Torie Fields, who comes to sitting in on the podcast kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
Kicking and screaming.
She looks happy to be here.
It's all an act.
It's, the face of excitement.
Here, see? Perfect. This is... What's happening here? Let me give you a little input on Torie. Torie just finished her first year in full-time youth ministry, so she's a paid youth ministry staff on Matt's team. She did not want to be on the podcast.
Have you ever seen an episode of the podcast?
I've seen an episode of the podcast.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's
an
good.
episode.
We're even.
Yeah.
Perfect. You guys both have watched one. And she said, no, I don't want to be on it. But... we're getting ready for Thanksgiving as tomorrow, and there's a bunch of stuff to do in the backyard because she had her youth group over. Mm-hmm. There was like 30 kids in the backyard for, I don't know, whatever it was, but the backyard's a little bit thrashed, and she's supposed to clean it up before Thanksgiving.
Nice.
And she said, if I go on the podcast, will you do my chores for me?
I love it.
So,
Good
and you
bargaining.
eagerly said yes.
It worked.
Good work.
yeah, I said I
from the master.
would move the chairs back, but
That's
there's
awesome.
other stuff that has to be done that I'm not doing. But anyway, thrilled.
Take what you get.
Thrilled to be here for show 203. Oh my gosh, 203. Josh and I were in Dallas, just got back from the National Youth Workers Convention. Speaking of that, our primary sponsors are Youth Specialties. Da-da-da. Josh, it was fun.
We had a great time.
A lot of
super fun.
People are catching on, Katie, in that when instead of talking to me and then about 7 minutes in saying
They're telling you immediately.
right away, they're telling me immediately that they're
Team
podcast
member.
people, team
Let's see.
members.
I was talking to these
And-
3 people. 2 of them were like, big fans, we love it. And one guy's like, I don't get it.
I don't know.
I don't get it. And he just tweeted, like, day before yesterday, I watched a show, I totally get it. Yes, another one.
Because a lot of people have said
What exactly?
I don't know what he got,
yeah,
but he gets it, and he's watching.
maybe he was getting it why he doesn't watch it.
Yeah. I totally
Some
get
people
it.
have said, some people, this
Good point.
this thing I put on my website about, do you want to, what length of podcast do you want?
Yeah.
The people who watch our podcast want longer. The people who don't watch it want shorter.
Yep.
Torie,
So-
what do you think would be the
what do
ideal
we do?
time for a podcast?
The ideal time for
Yeah.
a podcast?
Yeah.
30 minutes. That's as long as you spend on the treadmill. You watch it on the treadmill, done.
That's
Right?
pretty good. But you don't
I
watch the
spend
show,
60
right?
minutes
I
on the
don't
treadmill.
watch it.
Just
No,
throwing
we're
it out
Yeah,
there.
once a year, Josh spends 60 minutes
It's a
on a
great
treadmill.
workout. January 2nd, so good.
Well, speaking of our primary sponsor, Youth Specialties, here's our plug. 50% off next year's National Youth Workers Convention is going to be in San Diego
Nice.
and Nashville. You pay $75 now and lock in the $199 rate. But the offer expires November 26th. Is this show even going to be up before November 26th?
It will
For
be
a-
up on November 26th.
That's like 5 days from now.
So as you're watching this, if you're an early adopter,
Do it right this
register
second.
now. Go.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. Okay, because that's only like 4 days away. But Matt's out of town. Seth Bartlett, our executive producer, is within spitting distance, and he will make it happen. All right?
That's
Yeah.
such a good deal.
And
we have
can
our
we
primary
extend it
sponsor.
like 5 days or something?
I have
don't-
no idea.
I know we don't have any control. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so
Okay.
there's a lot of
Okay.
happening in
Sorry.
the world of youth ministry. Josh and I missed you being in Dallas.
Yes.
Torie, we missed you. Torie and I spoke at did a seminar together last year called Raising Kids in Ministry, and I think we ought to do that next year. Would you
We
like to?
didn't get asked back this year, so why... You think we'd get asked back next year?
I have connections.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've been to a bunch of YS conventions over the years,
Been
right?
to a bunch of YS conventions, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Grew up at the YS conventions.
Exactly.
And I'll
So
do it
fun.
again if you do more chores.
Strong.
Perfect.
What was the deal with last weekend? What did you have a bunch of kids over here for? I was out speaking.
We did our Grow Retreat, which is like what Saddleback used to do, Chi Alpha style. So close to Mariners, close to the church, and we have students stay at homes of families that we know and love and trust and stuff. So we had about 20 students jammed into 3 or 4 different houses, and then
Fun.
it was really fun. It was great. It was a fun time of bonding, and we went to Saddleback service on
Yeah.
Saturday night, which was awesome.
I didn't even see you. I was
I
like,
know.
they were here. What?
It was
I missed
great.
you. I'm
it
so
was so
sorry.
fun.
I saw everybody else. I didn't see you. I was so bummed.
That's okay. You were doing baptism.
Were you there?
She was out
Yeah.
I was there.
smoking in the parking lot.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was
These
a little
are
busy.
core kids.
So we went to Saddleback and then we hung out and played some dodgeball and games in the junior high room. So that was super fun. Had a great discussion about the service, what the kids liked, and we
Cool.
made them walk in pairs to see to get the feel of what it feels like to walk into an unknown place. And so
Awesome.
it was cool. It was really good feedback. So it was a good
That's neat.
good weekend.
All
And
grades.
here's the proud papa moment. Tori was in charge of the whole thing.
That's
She
right.
ran the whole event.
So great.
Yeah, Matt was in
Kenya.
Israel. Oh, Kenya.
Kenya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew he was gone. I really didn't pay much attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I have a lot more fun in the podcast when he's not here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not
The last show when he was
I
gone,
know,
it was a good
that's-
show.
The last show was a great show.
It
Katie was
was a good show.
Katie was a little inappropriate.
Yeah, I know. Let's not go there.
Totally.
She
Well,
definitely went
that's
there.
Hey,
Famous.
Michael Henry, a double rewinder, just made the Wall of Fame. I don't know why he didn't make the Wall of Fame the first time. Tori,
Maybe-
double
maybe made it again.
A Wall of Fame person is somebody that has listened to all 203 shows.
Wow.
So they could be a rewinder, meaning they started at show 200 and they went back and they watched them all. I saw a tweet today from somebody who said, I just watched show 1 from 5 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
They made a lot of mistakes or something like
Yeah.
that.
5 years ago was when this thing started.
Tori, when
Oh
you
my
said wow,
gosh.
it kind of sounded like wow, like impressive, and also wow, kind of sad. Like you
Yeah.
felt almost a little pity.
Yeah, you interpreted that correctly. Yeah, wow, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, Mark Eads. Mark Eads is another one who made our Wall of Fame. Seth, how's it going with last names?
We're slowly getting there.
Yeah, because here's what we need to do. If you are a Wall of Famer, get us the last name, send it into podcast at... We could send this one to podcast@dougfields.com, right?
Yep.
Podcast@dougfields.com. Send us last name, and also, well, we would then have our email address. Because these are like people that we ought to be conversing with regularly. This is like our family. These are people we would invite over to Thanksgiving if we did a Thanksgiving meal together.
Next year.
Very
Yeah.
Remember that.
I'm surprised that you're doing something different this year.
Yeah, we're not going to a restaurant for Thanksgiving. We're actually doing a home cooked meal, so it's gonna be great.
Is it just your family?
It's our family, and then Angela's, my wife's brother, is in town.
Okay.
And so, well, he lives here.
Yeah, I was gonna
Anyhow.
say, isn't he always in
he's
town?
in town like for the last 3 years. So he's gonna come over too. So just be the 4 kids, and then us. So should be fun.
Josh
So fun.
and
Yeah.
me and Seth and his brother-in-law went to the movies the other night,
Yeah.
and we were the only ones in the theater.
What'd
Oh, it
you
was
see?
fun.
Twilight.
Twilight, yeah,
No,
absolutely.
what did we see? I don't even remember.
007.
The Bond,
The Bond movie, yeah. Yeah, I wanted to walk out. Went out to go to the bathroom, and I was so tempted to walk back in totally naked. I just thought that would be
There was nobody
such a
in there.
great bit. There was nobody in
So
there
we're
but these
yelling.
guys.
It was a really fun time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe we weren't kicked out,
Cool.
but
There's
one
nobody
heard.
in there to complain. So anyway, if you are a Wall of Famer,
Yeah.
send in your last name and
And
we
congratulations.
will have your email. So anyway. Oh, here's one last kind of silly one. Then we'll jump right into the questions. This is from Sean Fullerton. He says, I don't have a story, or a question, but a story that made me laugh. I was watching episode 201 while I was grading some tests at home. My kids came in my room and asked me what I was watching. My son said, they are reading letters that people have written. He said to then my daughter, that must be Veggie Tales for adults. Then he asked, which one of you is Bob the Tomato?
Well, Matt's not here, so let's.
You do have rosy cheeks.
Thank you. I think
I don't know.
you were. Yeah, I'm just gonna let it go.
Just let it go.
Sounds good.
This
I'm
is
in.
from Wes Henson from Quitique, Texas. Quitique.
Quitique.
I have no idea
That's
where
not
that
a
is.
thing.
I've never heard of that place in my
That's
life.
not real.
Quitique. Half the times I can't pronounce them. Doug and Gang, I saw both you guys at National Youth Workers Convention, and you helped shame my friend Cody into becoming a podcaster. I do remember
Yes.
Wes. Wes is the guy I was pointing out from a long distance.
Tall dude. He's a
Yeah.
nice guy. Yeah.
And I forgot to tell you, I'm a rewinder. My question is, my church is going through a financial pinch. I am virtually on financial lockdown, and that severely limits my options for this coming summer. I'm super excited about taking kids to the Student Leadership Conference in Dallas, but when I mentioned it yesterday, I was met with a little pushback. What's the best way to communicate the value investing in a group of young leaders? Also, can you tweet something about iTunes not agreeing with the podcast of late? I missed episode 201 and 202 because I thought Matt was being slow, but podcast isn't working, Seth. This is not the first time we've heard about this.
Yeah, we've been having some issues, but the Youth Ministry Garage, all the episodes are there.
Yeah, it seems like ever since you moved out here, we've been having episodes with iTunes, but
Yeah. Interesting.
anyway, okay. So what do you
I believe
say?
You, Seth. I believe in
What's
you.
the best way to communicate value of investing in a group of young leaders?
Well, I would just immediately go to, is there any way that this event cannot hit the youth ministry budget? Is there any way that this can just be a break even as much money comes in, or is maybe donated or fundraised or however your church culture works, and to where it doesn't actually ding the budget at all? So if that's a possibility, I think that would be where I would move this towards right away.
Do you guys have any like student testimony from years past or anything like that that you kind of share with people to advertise or whatever?
Yeah,
Because that
our
might be cool.
website, which is what, SLC2013.com, has all that stuff.
Okay, because that might be a cool thing too.
Yeah.
Is maybe finding a couple of testimonies that not. I mean, you could share that with your students and maybe with elders or parents or.
Well, part of the great news is that it's several months in advance, and the cost. I mean, especially if you get the early bird, the cost is only like $99, which is the cheapest camp in the history of camp. Maybe not the history of camps, but the summer
Close,
camps.
close.
Yeah, history.
I mean, you've been around since the beginning of camp. So I mean,
I bet you they were probably
So you
cheaper in the
know.
'60s, but it's very inexpensive. So it gives time, you know, for fundraising and kids getting their own support. You know, at the Student Leadership Conference, I'll walk around at times and say, you know, how much did your church charge you for this? I've had kids say nothing. You know, that the church budget took it on as part of their leadership development, their missions, the whole bit. I think there ought to be a little skin in the game for kids, that there's a little bit of a little bit of risk to take them. But you know, anything, there's always financial issues in the church, so you always have to cast vision. Why am I doing this? And so, you know, Wes, I would say that you need to track down some people that have taken their kids to Student Leadership Conference, which we've got hundreds that we could put you in touch with. You need to find out what they did, what their results have been. You took kids last year. Mm-hmm. How was it?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It feels like more than a year ago, but it was great. It was very fun. Kids loved it.
I think you're right, though. I think, especially since these are maybe students who are ready to take a next step or a little bit more of a next level, maybe in their, leadership level or whatever. I mean, I think putting a challenge to them of like, hey, this is, I don't know, making some kind of cool challenge that those leadership kids achieve together, makes the conference kind of the sweet end result of that. So.
And all of them may not be able to go, but those that step up, what a good
Then
thing
they
for
should
them.
go, yeah. I almost wonder if showing where the benefit of this event plays out in your strategy, like if we go to this, if I can get these 4 or 5 students on board, then we're going to be able to X, Y, and Z, and like show the future. Because I think they're looking at the present, which is we don't have the money, we don't have the time, we're already in it. So don't worry about the present. No, you can't win there. But I think if you show them what could be and where you're headed towards, I think that could probably convince people as well.
It's just a different slice of casting vision, which we talked about.
absolutely.
Hey, the other thing, you're coming to December. If your fiscal budget year is January 1 through December 31st, clean out that budget. This is a great time to, I would always make sure that what?
I said I wish ours was.
I wish there were 2
I wish we were
annual
starting
review
over in
where we-
January.
You guys are July 1, is that
Yeah.
right?
July, yeah.
And if it's a fiscal year, so if it's January, clean it out and put that as, down deposit. Hey, here's what we're going to send you from Leader Treks. We're going to send you Student Leaders Start Here.
Nice.
Speaking of Leader Treks, Torie, you have been delegated what we call a pitch. So would you
The
now
sponsor
pitch
promo.
Leader Treks?
Is this refuel retreats?
That's
Yeah.
them.
Oh, okay. Refuel retreats. 2 great locations, South Carolina and Colorado. It's small and collaborative with no more than 30 people. $99 for one, $79 for your spouse or buddy. Great training,
Your buddy.
great location, great price.
Your spouse or
Your
your
spouse
buddy?
or buddy, whatever. No judgment here.
There you go. Nicely done.
Your roommate, your best
job.
friend,
Yeah.
your dog Clyde.
job.
Bring anybody.
Your spouse or buddy?
I talked to
My
Doug
favorite
Franklin
rain.
this weekend at YS, and I was like, I kind of, we've been saying we want to go. It'd be so fun, and so he's looking into a way for us to join. for the Colorado one.
Oh,
So
fun.
it could be
Colorado
neat.
sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
That's great.
But I told him, I said, I don't want to do anything. I want to go and literally
Like
just be there.
Yeah.
And,
Be a part of it.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
so fun.
So did you say that, like, I don't want to go and do anything because I'm normally asked to go and
No.
do
Because
stuff?
I'm such
Because
a
I'm a
big
speaker,
deal.
I'm a
No, I
writer,
just don't want to
number one
say-
blog in the world related to youth ministry. I just want to go and be a normal little
A
person.
normal human.
Not a celebrity more than
Nobody's stopping me along the
dodgeball.com.
way.
Cha-ching.
Yeah.
All right, this is from John. No last name. No, he doesn't want people to know what's going on. I've been doing background checks since I started in youth ministry. They're usually very helpful and pretty much affirm what I already know about a person. They're good people that want to serve in a church, until the one I got last week.
Uh-oh.
The potential volunteer has a record. Not just, oops, I forgot to pay a parking ticket kind of record. More like, oops, yes, I'm in possession of drugs, and yes, I do intend to sell them kind of record. In all fairness to her, she has gone through rehab and is working in a Christian-based halfway house. I have seen undeniable life change in her, and she has a strong desire to serve Jesus and love students. My question is this: what would you do? She's only a couple years removed from her former way of life, but I also know that Jesus makes all things new. So what would you do?
That's a great question.
Love it.
Good question. You want me to start?
Sure.
I would...
I really want Torie to start. But, okay, you.
Do you want to start with it? I told, what I would say is, on this one, a couple years gives me some light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely.
If it wasn't like last week, there's been a couple years. You know, one of the things that I say and stuff like this is don't make important decisions in isolation. So if Torie is the youth pastor at this church and she's in this situation, I would say, if I were you, I would go to whoever your supervisor is. If it's the associate pastor, the senior pastor, and say, hey, here is the scenario. What do you think? Here's what I've seen in this person. I like what I've seen in this person. I have evidence of a transformed spiritual life. Really impressed. But she has got a record. You know, and so, you know, we all have records of sin. This one is just
On
a
paper.
public display of this. So I say don't make important decisions in isolation. Ask somebody up above you. It's also, you know, because if it comes out that there was a past, Torie wants to be able to say, you're right, I know, we knew that. We do background checks on all of our volunteers, and that's why I talked to, you know, Pastor Billy Bob about it, so that, you know, and he signed off on it. So that's what I would do. I would say if you do see evidence, I like grace and redeeming people and the whole bit. Now, on the other side of that, not all grace and redeeming people means you need to work with teenagers. Now, in a situation like this, you know, again, I keep going back to transform life. You see transformation, I would pursue the green light with people that are above me.
I like the fact that she applied, that she filled out the background check form knowing that it was going to trigger a response and that this was certainly going to be on it, and still went through it and expects the conversation to happen. So I'm actually kind of proud of her for going through with it.
Yeah.
So I think the background check weeds out a lot of people
Weeds
at this
out.
stage. Yeah, so it's
Well, and I think a lot of volunteers can apply
Unintentional.
and fill out an application and leave things out. And even in
That's
a
my hair looking today.
cool.
All right, go ahead.
Looks really good. You sure you want to put your hat back on?
oh, your hat's regretting that.
No. Yeah.
Man,
don't-
what I did notice
Go,
at
keep it going, keep
what I did notice at YS is so many young youth workers and guys that are doing, you know, flat bill hats
Yeah,
with the
don't do
stickers
that.
on them doing this.
Don't do
Yeah.
it.
Oh, I wanted to smack it off their head,
I
but
got one of those on
Hey,
our
remind-
staff.
do you?
Oh,
But
yeah.
he's not.
Remind me to throw my
He's older
flat
than
bill
you.
that
Yeah.
He's like 30, isn't he?
Yep.
Okay,
Oh,
sorry.
how old?
I totally cut you off.
Whoa.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Um,
Background checks,
Weed.
weed. Yeah.
I think that
Torie's
you know
chores.
the background check is a conversation starter. The people that know that are they're doing it, that it's going to come up. Like I think for you as a leader, you know, the background check is a way for you to have an honest conversation with her as well. To just say, hey, okay, we both know this is on here, you know, and I, you know, after maybe the conversation with the supervisor, it just begins to open up, you know, maybe a great new relationship for you with this volunteer of just journeying with her. And hey, you know, I'm a little concerned just seeing this on paper, but I want to journey with you. I want to see you serve and see you succeed. So I think it just opens up a great avenue for honest conversation and being on the journey with our volunteers as much as we are with our students. You know, there are people that don't have stuff on paper, but they don't tell you. You know, there's people with a lot of hidden sin. So, I mean, you can't always know in those. So, in this situation, I think it's great to know and to start a conversation there. So,
you want to add anything, Josh? Or?
That's exactly what I would say. Where she was going.
I love it when Katie speaks up and talks. She's
agree.
so good. I'm actually sitting here thinking now with Matt not being here, maybe I could get Torie to quit Matt and work with you.
Yeah, that would be a win.
Yeah.
For the win. Hey, wait a minute. That's a really interesting
gosh.
thing.
Yeah.
The thought of being developed by
Matt's
Katie
the
Edwards.
greatest.
Matt
I mean,
is the
Matt developed
greatest.
me a lot, so
Do you want
I would
to?
want that for you.
Okay, since we give Matt a bunch of crap.
Matt will
You've
never
worked
hear
with him
this.
for a year and a half.
I'll never
He won't.
hear
He
this.
Seriously, there's not a chance.
He doesn't
He's
watch
the
this.
greatest.
What would you
He
say?
is the greatest.
Is he easy to work for?
He's very easy to work for.
Yeah.
He's wonderful. Yeah, he's great. He keeps you laughing all the time. He's very, he hates telling you what to do. And so he's not as strong as he seems in this context, I think, or as people might think that he is, as he is in a working sense. He doesn't come across like strict and stern.
He's very sensitive.
He's very sensitive, yes.
Well, I think
the best.
don't you think he tries to lead you to the right answer? Like he's not going to tell you it.
Yeah.
He's just trying to like.
He wants to
can
see you take
this.
initiative and see you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He's great.
So you don't want to quit and work with Katie?
Oh, because I wouldn't do that. I would just be like, do this.
Here, you want some development? Go.
I would be like, come on. I'd just be like, let's go here.
Yeah. All right. Hey, here's one from Michael Bright from Cheverville, Indiana. How would you handle a situation in which one of your male volunteers is kind of flirtatious with female volunteers and some students? I'm going to put you on the spot.
With students, bye-bye. Volunteer, bye-bye. Sorry.
Wow, you have been working with Matt. How would you talk to this person? What are the boundaries? Some of the situations have included the male volunteer hugging a female volunteer from behind or stroking her hair. Okay, so you'd say if he's doing it with students, gone. You'd have a tough conversation with, which Torie's had to have some tough conversations this first year of ministry.
I think with students, it's crossing the line. I think with the volunteer, there's more leniency. I haven't experienced this, but with students, I think, especially girl students, already hold male people that work in a church up to this like holier than thou type of figure, and to have someone that is crossing the line with students, I don't think is, I mean, sure, maybe a conversation and maybe he doesn't even realize it, but I think it would be, it's yeah.
All right. Okay.
I know. I wonder what the context, because I'm wondering, sometimes our female volunteers and our male volunteers flirt with each other.
Right.
So there's a lot of that.
Exactly.
I have a lot of younger leaders in junior high, so I have a lot of flirting going on between my volunteers at times, But yeah, the student piece is, I mean, definitely a conversation of, do you realize this?
Yeah.
And then if it happens again, once it's realized, then I would say, this might not be the place.
Yeah.
Maybe a break. Maybe work with old people. Something like that. Or
Good
traffic
stuff.
ministry. Something like that.
Do it.
Traffic ministry, no interaction.
I
with
wrote
humans.
down, let's send Michael something from Youth Ministry 360. Who has that one?
I do.
Go. Go. And what you noticed the last couple weeks to our team members is I'm not doing all the pitches anymore. Last time Josh did them.
Yeah,
this time we're spreading them all out. And
It'll
it's
be
painful.
interesting
It's
to
painful,
see
isn't it?
This
if
one-
more is sold or less.
No,
is sold.
you know what? Here's the deal. It doesn't matter. Josh and I had lunch with the wonderful guys of Youth Ministry 316,
good
Andy and
dudes.
Les.
Yeah.
And they're thrilled. We told them that literally we have, and this is, I won't exaggerate, Josh. Seth knows at least 6 people lining up, companies lining up to be sponsors.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we want to make sure that if these sponsors that we've been with for so long, they don't think they're getting their money's worth. We got others, and everybody's thrilled.
Yeah, they're
So
Everybody.
great.
we had a
I'm
great
so
lunch,
excited
great
to share
conversation,
this.
terrible food, but it was a great conversation.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Where
that
were you?
super average? I was
Applebee's?
like,
Yeah.
no, hole in the wall Mexican place.
No, and
Applebee's is
Josh
delicious.
actually,
This is awesome.
Josh actually did something I've never seen before, Katie.
What?
He picked up the chip.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw
The
that.
tweets were heard around the
saw
world.
the
I was like,
tweet.
I probably should do this more often.
World.
I'm really
So
stingy.
great. Did
Crap.
somebody give you cash?
No, so it was legitimately out of my own pocket. Now I saved the receipt, but still. I'm certainly going to get reimbursed for that. But
All right.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Katie Edwards making her first sponsored pitch.
Okay, so YM360 has a brand new killer line of Bible studies.
killer.
Introducing elements. They are in a word elemental. The question is whether or not your students can identify these elements. There's a 3-week Bible study for $19.99 or a 15-week Bible study. Am I supposed to read the prices?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
absolutely.
And a 15-week study for $79.99. There's lessons like the concept through the lens of God's character, the concept through the lens of the gospel, the lens of living out the concept as a 21st century teenager.
All right, so go to youthministry360.com. You can always put in YMG.
There's a lot of
That was
information.
good.
You can
on
always
here.
put in YMG and get a
It's
discount.
a 2-page.
Look at Tori's, and then look at mine.
She's the rookie. She just got
What?
here. Yeah.
That was killer.
That's
Yeah.
actually our executive producer
Yeah,
needs
that's
to
setting
give
it
us.
up.
He needs to give a shorter copy, but
YM360.
you're going to get the free elements. The YM360 guys can decide if it's a 3-week or the 15-week.
That's right.
That was really
But-
stressful. I'm not doing that anymore.
You said killer, though. I like that. A killer. They're going to add that to their website.
underlined
Katie
it.
Edwards said. A
Yeah,
killer.
youthministry360.com. If you want to buy something, put in YMG, get the discount.
10%. Boom.
I gave him a hard time because I saw on National Network, they got a National Network Youth Ministry got 20% discount.
What?
That's what I said. What's that all about?
we need to. We
So
probably
they're
need
gonna
some words.
change it. Seth, shoot
They're
an
bu-
email. Tell them to change it to 20%.
They're buying lunch next time.
Yeah. All right. This is from David Haniger, Wickline United Methodist Church, Midwest City, Oklahoma. Josh,
right.
Matt, Katie, and Doug. Been such a blessing to us youth leaders over the years. I listened to the SYM podcast for such a long time and never said anything in. So my first question ever, no longer called the SYM podcast.
Wow, it's
What
been
do
a
we call
while.
this? Youth Ministry
Youth
Garage.
Ministry Garage, YMG.
Yeah. Our small groups meet on Sunday nights.
Okay.
Yesterday, we moved our small groups from the church building to host homes. I prefer not to put siblings together in a small group. In that case, how do you recommend handling transportation issues if a parent has 2 children with both meeting at different locations, or a small group leader who has kids who meet in a different group other than their own? It was easy when we all met at the church because they dropped them all off in one location, but I believe host homes will be worth the hassle. Quick answer. Katie, Josh, you give quick answer. I will just say this. It is worth the hassle. Go.
I think
Yeah.
it's worth the hassle. I think maybe try
just said that.
maybe try to be thoughtful in the distance between the two. Like if there's a sibling here and a sibling here, just maybe try to find the closer homes for them.
Yeah, and I would say it's probably going to work just fine for the vast majority of people. So understand that, celebrate that, and then walk through the subjective ones that aren't working so well and come up with some special arrangements or rules or whatever you need to do. But the vast majority are going to be fine. So don't let that derail you from moving into homes because it is a great
Yeah.
call.
Well, maybe try doing 2 small groups in a home too, if it's possible. You know, if it's a small group leader has a group, and then maybe that home has 2 small groups meeting
That's
in
what
it.
I was thinking.
Absolutely.
So that, you know, they're still can be dropped off at the same place, but have separate care happening.
Yeah.
Love it.
When Torie was in high school, Kathy and I were leading small groups, and we couldn't bring her back. We could drop her off on the way there, so I just asked one of the volunteers, would you mind swinging her or
Yeah.
a parent or something like that?
Yeah.
And we figured that out. So anyway, you know, we started the podcast with three people watching. Grandma was watching.
Okay.
Your brother was watching.
Okay.
And his girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
And they
were
all
here?
left.
They were all
Yeah,
back here?
They were all back there.
They're all like, oh, never going to get those minutes back.
But see, look it's 27 minutes in,
See?
and
30
they're not.
minutes.
So
they're
maybe-
not-
See?
uh-huh.
So we could lose Tori at any moment
Yeah,
right
maybe.
now.
Yep.
She could just be,
I'm gonna go move those chairs by myself.
That'd be fine at this point if you want to.
no.
Or you just suck it up for another 15 minutes. Here we go. This has to do no name, doesn't want their name known. That's why I say no name. One of my volunteers,
Wow, this is like volunteer show.
Yeah.
okay,
No, title of the show. Boom.
who is a single mother
Wow. Okay.
via divorce. of one of our teenagers.
You're so dramatic.
Sometimes it's hug.
It's
by one of the other volunteers.
It's like you're waiting for the soundtrack to kick in.
It's just before Thanksgiving. One of my volunteers, a single mother of one of the teenagers, just told me she was pregnant. Not the teenager, the mom, the volunteer.
Okay.
She dated a guy for a few months, and now they're no longer together. He's been stroking other girls' hair.
Stop it!
Hugging them from any.
You actually got me for a split second. I was like, what are the odds? I knew my instinct was right. Oh my gosh. Oh.
What tips, thoughts, and advice do you have for a youth minister and a youth group dealing with this issue? Should we continue to allow her to be a leader? Should we only allow her to chaperone? Should we revoke her counseling privileges for a period of time? Probably for True Love Waits situation. I feel like how we react to her situation will say a lot to our group and our church about how God reacts. My goal is to offer her grace in a time of need while also leading others. For this question, please do not mention my name or church.
Yeah, we didn't.
Thank
Good job, buddy.
Good
job.
Who are you?
We're all in this together, man.
Yeah,
All
not
of
when I
us.
screw up. We're not in this together.
Well, I'll jump in to begin. I would say if this is a student, it's really a different answer. So a student who's pregnant, show enormous grace and welcome them, etc. I think because it's a person who's in a leadership position, there have to be leadership type consequences, and so I would remove the leader for a season. I wouldn't even allow chaperoning at an event or driving a vehicle or whatever. I would just make a little bit more of a stronger statement and say, hey, for this next season, 9 months, 2 years, whatever, I don't know what it is, we need you to just focus on your heart, your life, your world, and we'll carry on. We'll figure out what that looks like to bring you back, but I think for right now it's we love you. Let's help find some guidance for you in this next season.
Yeah, I would also find somebody in the church who has been in that situation to walk with her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes what we do as leaders is we fix our problem and then we move on, keep moving on, because we have to keep moving on. There's always stuff happening in front of us.
Yeah.
But when we fix our problem by moving somebody off to the side, we need to have the integrity to not just do that, but we need to have somebody walk with that person. Maybe it's us doing that, and that's ministry's messy, people are messy. This is a great situation of messy ministry. Doesn't mean that you can't have a ministry somewhere in the church, but probably I agree with you, Josh. Probably for her own heart, and there's some time that she needs for some healing.
Yeah.
And again, we come from a more conservative theology. There may be other people that are listening from more, liberal side. Like, what's the big deal?
Right. Right. Totally.
So, obviously, theological framework comes into it.
So even the chaperone, where he mentioned maybe take her out of a small group context, but you guys are saying you would even not have her be a chaperone type thing. Help set up for events or be present at all.
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I'm going to be taking, not that I'm planning on this happening, but this is something that I'm interested in the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be time for a season anyway to go. Something went wrong in that dating situation, I mean, she's got a teenager in the group. Now that teenager in the group is also going to go through a lot of pain, that's going to be a weird situation. And you guys, and that's one of the things about the podcast is that these are not hypothetical situations.
Right,
these are not case studies. These are real life situations, and we don't know every answer to everything, and we're just kind of, as we've said early on, sometimes Q&A is like a Band-Aid on a hemorrhage. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more deeper stuff there. We would need to know, I'd want to sense the people that are involved in this thing and walk with it very graciously. And, how would Jesus respond in this situation?
Right.
What would that look like? Obviously, there'd be a lot of grace and caring and hope and healing for that person. But I'm not sure that means staying in a leadership position.
Well, I think her caring for her child in this particular case is going to be more important than her caring for somebody else's kids. Yeah. Could she still contribute? Of course. Could she still speak truth into people? Absolutely. But I just feel like, okay, this is a choice that you've made. There's now another kid entering the world, and be a great mom. And the church will walk alongside you and we'll figure it out. But we'll handle this, you handle that for now, and we'll go.
Well, and it goes to in purpose-driven youth ministry, and I think in first 2 years, also that that sheet that many of us have used over the years of, the checklist deal of I'm committed to community, I acknowledge, that I have a relationship with Jesus. Check, I'm committed to lifestyle choices that are both godly and above reproach.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not the case there.
And I think what you're talking about, your theological bent and framework, but I think even just the culture of your church, I do think going to your boss, talking to your supervisor in a moment like this, even if you say, we're going to leave her on, everything's going to be fine, I think let your people know, because I think your boss or supervisor, senior pastor, whatever, will give you some insight whether this is a good decision or not, and whether they'll support you or not, because you want help. If you remove her and then the senior pastor freaks out, I think it would be a great thing to roll the flagpole.
But I've totally seen healing in these situations. We've had not, I've had younger, maybe college students or, in a similar situation like this, and, did have them take a break, and,
did or didn't have them?
Did have them take a break, but stayed connected to them, kind of checked in with them over about an 8-month period of time, and, just tried to kind of continue that process of care. And it wasn't, it was just checking in and that kind of thing, but saw healing in him, and, a couple of years later, he was in a great place to come back and do ministry. So I think sometimes, taking a break is not like you're bad, you're fired, this is
or the end of the road even. Yeah.
Hey, you've made a choice, there's some consequences to that choice, but we love you and want to know you and keep journeying with you and that kind of thing. And ultimately we're hoping that you stay connected to Christ so that you can find.
I was thinking about a leader who even just went through a divorce and had to say this would be a great time for you to take the season off, and he was actually relieved. Like, thank you, I need this time. And it was almost a positive. He was just reading it was very positive. Sure. Was it difficult? Did his guys almost throw a little mini rebellion because they love this guy so much and he poured into their life? Yes. But here we are a year later, he's back with the group, and he's divorced still and whatever, but has had a great chance for him to just walk with Jesus and walk alongside other men of faith and get through it to the point where he can finish with these guys this their senior year. So, yeah.
It's good. It's good. Hey, Kyle Corbin from North Vancouver, British Columbia, is letting us know that he is in a network, and it's one of the things that I've been asking the last few times. And so again, team members, be sending stuff in that let me know if you're part of a network, because we're gathering those. We want to do something with those one of these days. We're going to send Kyle something from who? Who do you have?
RemedyLive.com. I have nothing for us to send him, but they do have great videos. If you're looking for some tough topic, some people to talk about tough topics and walk you through your leaders, how to handle them, like dealing with pornography and obviously things like cutting and suicide and all that. Remedy Live has videos you can click on, and they'll help train you and teach you how to deal with that stuff. So great stuff for your volunteers. So
the other thing that I was telling Seth, I think what would be cool, I think it'd be cool if some of the people that are part of our team took another engagement into our team and became soul medics.
Yeah, that'd be really great.
And I just think that'd be a fun thing. Another way for maybe some of our rewinders, some of the people who've been listening for a while. Torie, a soul medic is a youth worker who would partner with Remedy Live, so when kids are texting in saying they want to commit suicide, that there's people around the country that would engage with these teenagers. Am I describing it pretty well, Seth?
Yeah, it's super cool stuff. They've actually stopped teenagers from committing suicide.
Yeah. So how would they do that, Seth, if they wanted to be a soul medic volunteer?
Go through RemedyLive.com or directly to soulmedicmedia.com.
Soulmedicmedia.com or RemedyLive.com.
They were saying that they really need of people on the West Coast. Yeah. Like, that's a huge... Yeah. I was talking to Clifton.
Yeah.
Clinton. Sorry.
His
Sorry,
cousin
Clinton.
But the West Coast enables them to be on more during the day.
His cousin Clifton.
Hey, but can Remedy Live, it's already said they'd send him something? What can they send?
They could easily send one of their little remedy packs.
A remedy pack. Yeah. Send a remedy pack.
It's like a shirt, some Starbucks gift card. And
whoa, I want a remedy pack.
Wow.
Time out.
What else could Clifton send?
Whatever Clifton wants to send. No, that's all right.
Oh, Quentin, I'm sorry if you're watching this.
This is
First time
from
podcast,
Matt Reno from Mount Pleasant, Iowa. I want to help my teens see the importance of applying God's Word. I don't think they see the joy and blessing that comes from obedience to God. I try sharing with them how I'm applying what I'm teaching them, but I don't want to come across as bragging at all. Every one of my small group leaders are telling me the same thing. When it comes to asking the teens, quote, how does this work out in your lives, they get blank stares. I've been praying for them often. How can I communicate this better from the front? Are there purposeful events that could help? Do you have any ideas on how to get teens motivated to start serving God? Thanks for all you do.
Serving or apply? I mean, is that...
Well, he kind of goes from one thing to the next, but maybe serving is the end result of what he's suggesting is obedience. I don't think they see the joy and blessing that comes from obedience to God. I try sharing with them how I'm applying and what I'm teaching them, but I don't want it to seem across as bragging at all. I think that the deal on that is... I think you can tell stories of acts of obedience. I mean, I paint a picture of, me and Kathy being married almost 30 years, and I point it back to when we were teenagers and we made the right decisions when it came to our purity. We are bearing the fruits 30 years later of decisions we made when we were teenagers. And so I think I can say that without bragging. We can just talk about, the road to what obedience has led us toward. And you share, I think, people learn from stories and painting pictures. I'm always concerned when I hear, the joy of obedience, and I'm not suggesting that Matt's a regular, he writes in, I've recognized his name, and I'm not suggesting that he's doing this. I want to use this as more of a teaching principle, is that, we get into this whole thing about adjusting kids' moral behavior. Seth and I were talking about it yesterday. What was the term you were using, Seth?
Behavior modification.
Behavior modification, yeah. That we want to adjust kids' behavior, and so they behave a certain way when they're at church, then when they're away from church, they walk away from behavior modification. And what we want to teach about obedience is more of falling in love with Jesus, drawing close to Jesus, having our lives transformed by Jesus, understanding not what would Jesus do, but who would Jesus be in that situation. And that's, I'm more concerned about, honestly, I'm less concerned about whether a kid cusses or not, and whether they follow Jesus with their life. So I think there's bigger issues and bigger questions that we back up, and we have to look from up front. What are we teaching? Are we teaching them to be good little, Republican Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts so they act a certain way, or are we teaching them to follow Jesus, draw close to his words and his lifestyle and his teaching, and then have their life transformed? I mean, that's what spiritual formation is, a transforming of our inner beings to be more like Jesus. Actually, go ahead.
Yeah.
Somebody jump in. I'm going to read something that
Oh, nice. I like it.
You said some really good stuff.
Yeah, I know. I felt like maybe a slow clap. Slow clap, bro. Okay, all right. Show's over, everybody.
I actually sent something to my whole family today, and I just said I said, read this next time you're on the toilet. It was something out of a devotional I was reading. It said, in the imagery of Christian transformation, vision refers to the ability to see ourselves radically transformed and authentically living life a whole new way in God's kingdom on earth. So, but it was basically saying you have to have a vision for what a life in Christ could be. Head over heels in love with both Creator and His creation. A person with a vision for transformation, that their life can actually be changed, sees the journey of salvation, the imagery of the Trinity, and the kingdom of heaven with new eyes. The idea that we're called into, the Christ in me, Colossians 1, that we're called into this relationship with the Trinitarian God who lives within us, has modeled how to live life, and calls us to this idea. I'm in a journey of transformation, sanctification. The old has passed away, behold, the new has come. There's this idea of I'm growing more and more in the likeness of Jesus. And I kind of wonder, if I look back at my 30 years of teaching, how much of it is like that and how much of it was behavior modification. Now, I think in behavior modification, even if that's all you know and that's all you're teaching, we still have room for the Holy Spirit to guide kids.
Totally.
You know, I mean, our words are very fallible, but I think, you know, you model it, you talk about it with integrity, but not set yourself up as, I can never be like that. You're being real. I mean, real spiritual transformation, there's doubts, there's fears, there's, I don't know how that works, there's questions. I think all that is engaging to kids when, you know, as Torie said a little bit earlier, you know, high schoolers already look up at leaders as they're like Jesus Jr. And when all of a sudden you show some authenticity and some struggle and some journey, I think that's attractive to kids.
I love it.
What else? That was. Did I just suck all the way down?
No, it did. It was incredible. My much shorter and less eloquent answer was just going to be, I mean, you said it at one point, but stories. I think your story is powerful, but you also have small group leaders. You have the stories of your students. You have adults in your church. I mean, if you look at some of the older people in your church, they probably have incredible stories of what God has done in their life and how they've grown and failed. And people on this side of doing really bad things, and people on this side of doing really bad. It would be awesome to just tell the stories of your church.
Sure.
And you know, I think you being the hero all the time is a problem. And I think, you know, you need to think about that when you teach. But man, share the stories.
Sure. I'm not sure I can teach obedience, but I think there are questions that we can ask to help lead students towards obedience, you know, or things that we bring into their context. You know, I don't know, I think when I'm leading my small group, I'm trying to ask them questions that hopefully unlock things in their own context and their own faith, that lets them ask, gives them a safe place to ask questions and wonder and wrestle, but also, are you thinking of, you know, that transformation piece of Jesus living in me and what that looks like? So when I gossip and Christ is in me, what is that? How do those things, you know, so even just asking those questions within their context to help them kind of wrestle towards obedience, I think.
So that's what we were talking about yesterday.
I'm just taking notes over here.
Torie, you got anything?
I was gonna say, I don't think it's, okay. So I was gonna say, in a small group context, I think stories are great, but I think how I've learned to do, especially with my girls that I see are my, at least my, top 3 girls that I'm intentionally pouring into, I think just incorporating them into my daily life and having them, even seeing me interact with my friends and me interact with my family, I think them seeing not obedience in the big picture, which I think is what stories can be sometimes, is a big picture, but seeing obedience in daily lived out life has been something that I learned from the person that poured into me, and now she incorporated me really well into her life, and I more learned from her actions and how she lived day to day more than the stories that she shared with me.
That's really good. That's really good. That's the best answer of the day, and I'm not biased at all. No, the reason I say that is because, we talk discipleship, but discipleship oftentimes is reduced to learning a bunch of facts and knowing that there's 66 books in the Bible and that type of thing. And can you say Matthew, Mark, Luke? Where in the spiritual formation language, Seth and I were having this conversation yesterday. It is less about discipleship and more about apprenticeship. That I walk with, when Jesus said, "Follow me," they walked with the master. Jesus is the master teacher. And so what you're saying, ultimately you are discipling those girls, but in a lot of ways they are your apprentice. And you are an apprentice to the master. And it's kind of like Paul says, "Follow me as I follow Christ." So there's this kind of moving discipleship. So I think you nailed it. One thing I was just thinking about is that we're so good in youth ministry to get kids to face forgiveness. So we talk about the past, and we want to get them into the Christian club. So we talk about eternity and kind of the get out of hell card for free type thing. Grace for the future. But what does it look like to live in Christ now? So I think we're really good at saying, make sure your sin's forgiven and you got eternity locked up. But what does it look like to live, when Jesus said, "I came that you might have life in all its fullness." What does it look like to live with Jesus today? That's the full life that I think, we're not. I messed my small group up last year in a good way when I just said, what if eternal life begins now? You know, what would that look like? That instead of waiting till I get to heaven to live this real life, but eternal life begins now. Matt Reno, good question. Got me going a little bit. We're going to send you the APU academic pack. Do you know what the APU academic pack is, Tor?
Not a chance.
I'll give you $1,000 if you could say what it is. Right
Let's
now.
try to guess.
I just said I don't know what it is.
I'd take a guess.
Now,
$1,000.
now all of a sudden there's a little
All
bit
right.
of motivation.
Yeah.
It's an application to Azusa. It is a sweatshirt.
Okay.
And it is a card to More Than Dodgeball.
Oh,
Ooh.
love that. We can add that to the pack from
pretty
now on.
close. Pretty close. Well, it's basically the most
I need some cards.
the most academic books that any of us have written. PDYM, first 2 years, and What Matters Most is the academic pack.
So it has nothing to do with Azusa.
No. No,
learning.
APU is academic. Those books are used as textbooks. It's the closest thing we had. We're in a garage, for goodness sake. You know, it's not
We
like
really are.
Yeah.
It's a very good garage.
I was actually I was looking at starting APU's DMin program
Wow.
but it starts in January.
Yeah. Not a good time.
I have to read 14 books between now and January and write like too many papers. So
Is that a big deal for you? 14 books.
Yeah, do not.
yeah,
Please do not.
Can I rub your hair with that?
Yeah. I'm not to remove you as a volunteer.
Please don't strap my hair.
All right, show 203, fabulous, maybe the best one we've ever
That's
done.
strong.
Such a great
Yeah.
one.
Matt who?
I don't even like
Title of the
Matt.
show.
Oh,
Matt
I
who?
missed
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the title of the show.
Yes.
Good job, Matt. Who?
All right, got it.
Do you want to say anything nice about Matt?
Oh, man, I love you. If you ever watch
Not a
this,
chance.
I'm not trying to replace and will never.
Don't be threatened by Torie.
Yeah.
You're smiling way too much. You better replace.
Yeah.
All right, thanks
Fun.
everybody.
That was a good
Send in
show.
your questions through the Youth Ministry Garage. And those of you that are whining about iTunes,
Hey.
I understand. I'm real angry at Seth right now. It's there?
Oh,
You just checked?
Seth just showed up.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. There it is. Boom.
All right, we're out of here. Happy Thanksgiving and Christmas
That was
and
funny.
all of the above. Kwanzaa.